Yeah,
Oh,
you
I'm so
did.
happy.
It's
Hey,
so nice to
hey,
meet you.
how are you?
I am so good. I am so excited to be hanging out with you. Thank you for joining the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Wait, I'm still like figuring out the technical, which is not my strongest area.
You look good. You're like a little off center.
Okay,
So
okay.
scoot a little.
Maybe I can scoot.
There we go.
Okay,
Maybe
okay,
a little more. Maybe a little
okay,
more.
okay, okay, okay,
Wait, wait,
okay.
wait.
Oh no, that's not good. Okay,
There we
wait,
go.
wait, wait. There, there.
And now pull it down a little more. Okay.
Okay, great.
There we go.
Yay!
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am so good. Thank you again for being here and joining the show. I created the show in March of 2020 when COVID just shut the whole world down because I wanted people to have a place every week where they can come and just have fun and hear from the people that they love like yourself. So it's great to have you.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you were providing a huge service. We were so isolated and freaking out. So thank you for creating community for us.
Oh, listen, I'm all about community. It's my little part of doing what I can. And for everybody who tuned in, I have fan questions as well. I'll be asking fan questions towards the end of the interview, so stick around for that. But I mean, if you're ready to rock, we have a lot to get to.
Okay, awesome. Let me just turn up the volume because I can't hear you well. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Turn it all the way up.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I can hear you well enough.
All right, you feeling good?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So first off, I've got to say a huge congratulations to you on all of the success with Grey's Anatomy. I mean, 18 seasons in, 19th season is coming. People are so excited. This is like comfort food for the soul, this show. So I want to bring it all the way back for a minute, all the way back to when you first got that script for private practice, right?
Yeah.
What was it that attracted you to wanting to be a part of this, Shondaland medical universe to begin with?
Yeah, oh my gosh. I mean, so many things. First of all, I tell this anecdote all the time, and so I will share it with you if you want to. About I had seen the first episode, I had seen the first season of Grey's Anatomy when I was in undergrad. I was at Trinity College in Toronto at U of T, and I had during finals, I had watched the first season of Grey's Anatomy and was just like, what is this? What is this? It was like the pilot was so perfect, the structure was so gorgeous, the characters were so well thought out, and it was like it was surprising. Like what they were showing in terms of like the complexities of the characters and the storylines was surprising in a way that I loved. And I got to the end of watching the first season, and I was like in my last year of undergrad, and I was like, I think I want to go to med school. And so I went to the medical faculty at U of T, and they had this like 6 week lecture series for arts and science students who wanted to maybe go into medicine and like how you would do that transition. And so I went to this lecture series. It was at the medical faculty in these like huge lecture halls, and it was essentially surgeons coming every week and explaining like what they actually do in a day. Like I wake up and I do this, and this is these are scans, and this is what surgery is. And I got to the end of the lecture series, and I kind of was like, oh, I don't think I want to be a doctor. I think that I just want to be on Grey's Anatomy. And so I like picked up and moved to LA, and it's a bit more of a meandering story than that, but essentially I ended up in LA on Grey's Anatomy, and that's wow.
So how did that audition even come about for you? Like, what was that process like? Did you go out a million auditions for it? Did you even audition for other roles in the Grey's Anatomy universe? Like, how did this happen?
I didn't audition for other roles. I honestly, it was so long ago. What I remember was going into Linda Lowy's office. Shout out to Linda Lowy, by the way. What a genius! Oh my god. In terms of like the whole show and all of the Shondaland shows that she cast. I mean, she really has like created all of my friends for me here in Los Angeles. Which is great. But I walked into the office. I must have gone to an audition before that I'm not remembering well. But I remember walking in and Shonda was sitting there in the chair. This is a while ago. And so Shonda was in the room, and and I did the audition, and there was kind of like this moment of silence after I did the scene, and Shonda kind of was sitting back, and she said, "I think I could like you." And I said, "I think I could like you too." And then that was it, and I got the call, and Amelia Shepherd 12 years later.
That's incredible. Oh my God. Also, like, no pressure, Shonda sitting in the audition room. That's probably like this big of a room, right?
Yeah. Thankfully, I did not understand at that time the full scope of like Shonda's titanness in this world.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That is so cool. Okay, so after private practice, in about 2014, I want to say, you joined Grace full time, right?
Yeah.
So did you see that coming? Like, were there conversations ahead of time, like, listen, we're going to move you over, or was it kind of a shock?
There actually were. Shonda and I had talked about it, and with Betsy, like a year before, but I had just had my baby, and so my first baby, I just had Eliza, and so I had her when I was on private practice, and I was pregnant with my first daughter the year that Amelia had her like very tragic pregnancy, and so they kind of wrote the pregnancy in that way. Although it went a very different way. And so after that, we kind of talked about maybe Amelia coming over. And at that time, I was home. I was newly home with my baby and needed a bit of a break. And so we kind of waited. And then, like, I think it was the next season that Amelia ended up coming to Grace.
Well, let's talk about Amelia for a minute, because this character, I mean, she's like multi-layered. She's so interesting. There's so much going on with her. She's a badass. She's everything and more. And I feel like the fandom caught on very quickly with her. Like, she was an instant fan favorite. So how would you describe her evolution from day one all the way to now?
I mean, she's lived a whole life on screen, and I think, and I'll use this as a segue to talk about one of the things I love so much about this show and Shondaland in general is that I don't think in this way ever in the history of television have we watched the lives of characters unfold so completely and go from like students and kind of like cultish interns to like surgeons who are at the top of their game to like becoming people who are capable of teaching the next generation, and especially women, like watching women go from what would have traditionally been like the ingenue time of life, like the maiden time of life, and then maturing into the full flower of their professionalism and their authority and their womanhood, and in some cases their motherhood, and really becoming the hearth at which like the next generation comes to learn. And so I think our show has done that with so many different characters, especially Meredith, and I mean so many characters. But that's something we've gotten to see with Amelia. She kind of started on private practice and Grey's the same year. Actually, she was doing guest spots on Grey's when she started as a regular on private practice. But she was still a fellow. She was doing a fellowship at that time, and she kind of was very lost and looking for a place and a home. And she found that with Addison, who's her sister-in-law, her first sister-in-law. And she started living with Addison and working in the private practice over on that show. And then she moved over to Grey's and became the chief of neurosurgery, and is now kind of doing her thing over in Seattle and in Minnesota right now.
So what do you love? What do you love about playing her?
Oh God, everything. I love Amelia Shepherd like she is my sister, family member. Like as an actor, you don't often have an opportunity to play a character for so many years and to see them not only to create their psyche right off the bat, which you get to do, which is so awesome, and they gave her so much depth, and she's so multifaceted, and so I got to kind of dig into that immediately, which was such a privilege, and the writers are just genius. And But then to see her encounter her environment over many years and see how the character that they created and that I created with them is affected by the different events that happen in their lives and how to send them in this direction or in that direction. Like she really becomes like a human being, like someone else in your family or in your friendship group or your chosen family that you watch becoming in the world and creatively encountering circumstances and unfolding in this very dynamic way. And so I it's hard to articulate. I love her like I love a human being, not for one reason, but because she's alive to me.
Yeah, well, it comes through, and I imagine playing somebody to your point for that long is so fulfilling because it does give you room to really explore a character, right? In all different chapters of their lives. Like, I know it's controversial, many opinions, but I love it just like that because it's their chapters in their 50s. And what a treat for people to see that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
so cool.
exactly. That we're not static. Like,
yeah.
Again, like we're coming out of the generation that grew up with like the type of Disney films where like life ended at, I do. And it's like, well, okay, wait, but then what happens? Like, there's so much more to everyone's life that we weren't invited to participate in kind of traditional film and TV. And now I think in streaming.